even huge institutions that we thought would never fail can fail. And that which we consider to be, even a solid, respectable career is not really anything that we can count on. So there's a part of the message, I think, that is just acknowledging the reality. I've always been a very pragmatic optimist where I like to look at the reality and say, truly, as individual business owners, we can't count on the market staying the same, as we've seen through a number of different economic downturns. As corporate employees, we can't count on our organization to stay the same, or our customer base or positions. But when we know that, then we can do specific things to actually make ourselves indispensable and highly employable, whether we're redeployed within our own organizations when change does happen, or to also be a person, if you do end up being laid off, that you're highly flexible and you can quickly get another job or have other kinds of business opportunities. And I always say it's by force or by choice. Really, the way that we can actually, create a strong sense of always being employable is by the narrative that we tell. And if we're looking at the general narrative, which is, have you been a stable person, which means that you've been in one organization for a long time. Now, again, even if you want to do that, it's not necessarily possible. So you need to constantly be retelling the story about who you are and what your strengths are and what valuable things that you've contributed. The really good side to this equation is, as one side of the new world of work is instability, the other side is an amazing opportunity that we have for doing all kinds of different work. And on the personal branding side, we have so many tools now that allow us to tell our stories in compelling ways through things like blogs or social media, our own websites. I think we have a lot more capacity to create a cohesive story about ourselves than we ever did in the past. As you look at the course of your life, what are all the things that you really want to create, contribute, affect, and impact? That's the one decision that you would make is really, what is that body of work that you want to create based on things that are really important to you, using your skills and your strengths. But it's also in what are the intangible ways in which you affect the world? How are you as a parent, as a community member, as a spouse? What are you really contributing? What's your emotional wake that you leave as you really walk through the world? And is it something that you feel proud of and that you really leave as a legacy? So when you think about it from that perspective, to move around or not move around, to me, is really addressed by why. And sometimes you can be pursuing what seems to be the next great opportunity. Are you just jumping to what seems to be the next great opportunity because of maybe a financial outcome, or are you conscious about what it is that you want to create? The way that you help people understand who you are and what you do is by the story you tell. It is the meta skill of the 21st century, which, by the way, has always been the meta skill, right? Storytelling is the way that we all relate to each other, and we have since the very, early days. And the good thing is that's actually what good salespeople understand, right? But I think there's two parts to the story. There's, what is the story you're telling yourself? Are you saying, oh my gosh, my work history sounds really sketchy. I'm desperate. I need to get a job. Oh my gosh. In which case it's hard then to create a compelling, authentic story to somebody else, right? Versus where you say, I may not have had a perfect past. Everybody has challenges, in your life and your work, but this is the meaning that I've really gotten from it. And these are the kinds of projects that I've really thought about that I want to contribute to. And here's why my specific skills fit. Folks that might be out of work or looking for new opportunities, it's easy sometimes to look at somebody who gets an opportunity and say, oh man, that wasn't fair. That person's lucky, or they had this background or come from this place and therefore they got the job. And what I always know, because I've just watched it for so long and coached so many people around it, is somebody who actually got the opportunity took the time to really research and understand what were the needs of that person who they were wanting to make a sale to, right? Kind of, again, an internal sale for an opportunity. Deeply understanding and connecting with somebody, feeling good enough about yourself when you meet that person who you just think is wonderful, who would be a great partner. You don't really knock yourself, out of the running by saying, oh my gosh, but, I'm not that good a person and I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. People don't like me. That's that internal story sometimes that becomes the driving narrative for our life. And it ends up really leaking out into also how it is that we tell a story about ourselves moving forward. one thing to do is to read, and whatever genre of books that you enjoy, if it's fiction or even nonfiction, pay attention to what people are actually doing as they're narrating, creating a great story. I find the arts are one that also really contribute to you getting excited about a great story. So if you can go to a great play or, see a really wonderful movie, you start to pay attention to, how did that grab me and why was that exciting, or why did I get scared at that moment, and those, I think, can be things that are really useful. Again, from a sales perspective, I think that is a skill that so many folks need to have. And really one of the fundamental underlying skills, I think, of great storytelling is where you really do think about who your audience is and really make sure that you spend a lot of time understanding what is the nature of the organization that you're selling into, what are the personal things that are really driving folks who you're having conversations with, so that when you choose what it is that you want to talk to them about, that it's very related.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And to stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast, and on Twitter at Catalyst_Action. And thanks for listening.